Hello traders, subscribers, new watchers. Welcome to Optional Enterprises Watchlist for March 9th, 2020. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing if you find anything that helps you trade this week. That being said, huge correction in the market, down just over 19, just under 20, almost in bear territory. Volatility is through the roof. Not a great week for option buyers, but there are trades out there if you're willing to wait longer than a week. Equity futures are up this evening, up almost 3%, and we can see that we've got a bit of a volatility. I wouldn't say quite a crush. The volatility futures came in about 8%. So 8% is not a bad volatility crush. The overnight futures are going to have to come up substantially more to bring in that volatility. So that being said, buying options this week, options are expensive and you're most certainly guaranteed to lose money on Vega, so you want to make sure that your delta move is going to outweigh the loss of the Vega. That being said, VXX near-term options this week are going to cost you about 7 cents. And these are looking good for some puts, maybe not that expire this week, but possibly in the next week. I bought some earlier today that expire this week, and we've still got about 4 days left on those, so I think I'm sitting okay with those. But for everyone else, maybe looking out a week. You can see that there's there's about a 32% decrease in options there. And this week though, we could be either expecting a much more massive surge or the spike is over. VXX getting above 35 tells us that the VIX is going to shoot higher, which means more hedging, more puts. But below 35, this looks like an option seller on some volatility, looking to gain some of that Vega. Do have some pretty strong support down here at 32 overnight. Well, right now we're down about 34, so it looks like it can come down about another $2. So $2 would definitely outweigh the Vega loss. If we go over to our Vega, you can see over here some of the at-the-monies you're going to be losing almost 2 cents, about a cent and a half you'll be losing for every percent lost in Vega. So I'm looking at puts. Obviously you can see I've already gotten in some 28s, but the 34s could be good for tomorrow if it isn't just a simple gap down overnight, gap down into the 32 area, which is where you'd expect to find a little support. Below 32 though, and it's going much lower. So I think that's just a viable trade. Right now, take a look at the overnight futures and find out how well those are doing. So it looks like we're down 10% on the overnight VIX futures, which means that we'll be seeing a corresponding trade in that this week. So 10% would mean we will see this maybe gap down about $3.60 tomorrow. So that brings us down to, well, about 33.20, which is right above that support zone that we're looking at. Remember, below 32, and we're looking for it to go much lower. So something to keep an eye out. I think it's a good trade, especially in the next week. So below 32. Let's see if I can get this a little smaller. Here we go. Okay, so for calls on VXX, you want this to stay above 35. Above 35 means we're heading into bear correction. So above 35, I leave it to your discretion for calls. But for puts, like to see it below 32. and I'd ride that down to your next resistance zone on the SPX. Alright, so that's it for VXX. Let's move on to the next one. Our next one here is going to be the 10-year Treasury notes, and as you can see, overnight futures were down almost 1.25%. So we can safely say that TLT, which is going to be our trade of choice for this, is going to gap down in the morning. And that's going to be where we're looking for our trade. So we can safely say that our gap down tomorrow is going to be, well, if we're looking at about 1.25%, well, looking at maybe $1 said, almost $2. So that brings us down to about 169. Above 166, we're looking for calls. I haven't updated this chart yet, so we're gonna say 169.33. So above 169.33, and we're looking for calls. Below 169.33, we're looking for puts down to 166.77. So for calls, wrong text. For calls, entry above 169.33. Target we're going to call 171.10. And for puts, entry below 169.33. Target, I'm going to call 166.77. And we're going to put in a second target this week because there is a $10 expected move on TLT. Although we are expecting somewhat of a volatility crush. I will say 166.77 as our second target. So that's it for TLT. Remember, I can't stress this enough. Play with patience this week. Volatility is high. Options are expensive. You want to ride that Vega out and try and get in at the most opportune time. Duration is your friend in this case. So our next one here is Snap. Again, 100% implied volatility on this one, but the Vega is rather low. So we're looking at calls on SNAP, and we're looking at a very low Vega. Look at that, not even a full cent. So if this one does volatility crush on us, we're not losing a whole lot. The delta far outweighs the Vega, and the options are cheap, so you can put in a light order. 12 calls are what I'm thinking on this one. It's triggered for a reversal. And we see we've got some pretty big bids over here. 4,000 traded today. 3,000 traded at the 1150s, which we are currently below. But if we get above that 1150, that's going to be acting as pretty good support. And the 12s are looking good up to maybe 13. You can see that we're holding on a pretty strong monthly support level. Bring this out to a month chart so you can check that out for yourself. So this brings us back to May of 2019. This is where we're bouncing off of. We can see that we are now outside of this channel, which is, well, that's not good news for us. So we really need that 1120 to hold. For an entry in the calls, we want to see it above 1153. Which is right there, and we're not quite there yet, but we might get there tomorrow. 1153, I'd be looking upwards to 12, not 1271, but maybe the old high of this candle, which is, looks like about 1213. I would say 1213 is not totally not impossible. Booking in about a $1.51 expected move, so a $1.51 brings us to about 13. Up to 13, we're definitely getting 100%. Remember, the delta was about 43 cents. So snap above 11.53, which is what I'm thinking. Triggered for reversal, and being that the market just sold off like this, reversals are going to be all over the market. How long they last, can't tell you. Again, we're short-term traders. We're not looking for anything that's going to last. Looking for a quick in and out. I expect this to be up to 12 by at least the end of the week. 13 is the target though. So for calls, entry above 11.53, target 13. For puts, which doesn't seem too likely, we want to see it below 11.20, and we're going to make our target $10. That's it for Snap. Let's move on to the next one. Our next one triggered for a reversal to the upside is Facebook. Now, keep in mind that if equity futures stay open, then obviously we're going to see them gap up, and that might detract away from some of the movement. But as it stands, Facebook holding above this 168.84. Above 168.84, we're looking for 173.63. Keep in mind this is an $11 expected move, so the full $11 brings us back up to 180. Doesn't seem too likely that that's going to happen, but again, above 168.84, we're looking for calls up to 173.63, which would definitely give you 100% return on your money. You're losing about 7 cents for every percent of Vega lost. Again, this is in the 100th percentile, so you're definitely going to be losing your fair share. If this does in fact move up 5 points, then you're looking at maybe a 30% volatility crush, and that would give you well, 3 times 7 is what? That's 27. So you're looking at about $2.70 lost in the Vega. So let's get our targets here. For calls, entry above, which is where we're at right now, above 168.84. Let's type that out the right way. For calls, entry above 168.84. Target 173.63. For puts, entry below 168.84. Target's going to be 164.63. Alright, that does it for Facebook. Let's move on to the next. Alright, next we've got Dick's Sporting Goods. Got earnings tomorrow after the bell. So, maybe not something you want to swing. It is triggered for a reversal to the upside, and we've got some interesting option activity that supports that. Factoring in about a $4 move, so greater than 10% of the current price. And it's just some light trading, but definitely favoring to the upside. Some wishful thinkers. There's also one big player who is favoring to the downside. So you look at those 30s, we've got about 2,000 being traded today. That's something you're going to want to check in the morning, Tuesday morning, to see if those transfer into open interest. If they do, that could be someone hedging to the downside, and you're going to want to watch price activity and the activity of all those going into the day. However, it triggered for a reversal to the upside, so I'm thinking more to the upside. $4 to the upside brings us to around 38. 38 seems to be where open interest kind of dies off. So, bring us out to the chart. You can see here that we have got some pretty clear support levels that are being held up. See that 31.81 being held up. Let's bring this out to a monthly chart so you can better see. Daily kind of confuses it. Monthly always looks a little more clear. And there you go. So we're bouncing off the 200 EMA on the monthly chart for DKS, and we're holding above. Well, we got to close above 34.48. We want to stay above 34.48 for a rally to 38. Now that's the full $4 expected move. But if you look at that big trade, we want to see what that transfers into in the morning. If that turns into open interest, I'm more inclined to the downside, and we want to see a break below 33.71. Below 33.71, we're looking for 30 to be our price target. So for longs, we want 34.48 to hold. Target 38. For shorts, entry below 33.71. Don't have to use that as a hard fast stop, but too much further above that, you start getting closer to 34.48 than you are to 33.71. Maybe a good time to stop out. But below 33.71, we're looking for a target of 30. Alright, that does it for DKS. Let's move on to the next one. And last but not least, this is going to be our lotto for the week. Ticker symbol MGM. Obviously, with their new startups in China, they're looking at, well, with travel bans, not a great prospect for the future, but is triggered for a reversal and had all the great right signs, I should say. Heavy call trading today, so those could be call sellers, but for them to be call sellers, we want to see this below 17.55. It's got a $2.50 expected move, so the price target would be 15. But we're going to take this out to our monthly chart, and we're going to put 16.18 as our target. You can see that right there. That's where our lower support is. So let's take this out to our, there we go. Alright, for calls, we want to see an entry above and stay above 17.55. Above 17.55, we're looking at 19.58. For shorts, entry below 17.55, target 16.18. Alright, that does it this week. Remember, keep in mind that volatilities are high. If you do decide to buy anything this week, as far as options are concerned, then I'd be playing it out at least 2 to 3 weeks. You could be risky and play it this week. I've identified what I think are the best setups according to my particular algorithm, and I wish you profits. I thank you for watching. Please consider subscribing if you find anything that helps you trade this week, and I will talk to you next week. Thank you.